Hi, I'm Kara.
Oh, Chris.
The fuck, dude? What was that? What came out of me? I'm so glad this is not my day job, dude. They would be like, and you're fired. Like, I'm about to cry from laughing so hard. Alright, why don't you start?
Oh, God. Okay. I'm Chris.
I'm Kara.
And we're the Midnight Babes.
We're a little giggly.
Yep. Welcome back.
Welcome back. We're kind of picking up from where we left off with
The Sinner.
and then going into
Sacrifice.
the Sacrifice. As you guys know, there are spoilers.
Spoilers ahead.
They're TWs.
Yep.
I saw that meme and it was like, if the trigger warning list wasn't like as long as my arm, like I don't want to read it.
Honestly. Like, not gonna lie, I saw this really cute, had a cute little cover. I forget what the book is actually called, but it was just like a little fluffy type of romance. And I'm sitting here, I was like, I'm like, I'm not in the mood for that.
Yeah, it's too sweet.
Yeah. There's something about those books where they're like, oh, they're gonna kiss. Oh, they're gonna kiss.
They might do.
Oh, they're gonna hold hands. But like, I gotta be in the mood for that.
That's like ACOTAR, like Tamlin and Feyre. Like, oh my god, are they gonna kiss?
And then you read Mist, and you're like, fuck them. We'll get to those later.
Well, that's a whole nother thing. My fiance is in the process of listening to the audibles, and his reactions have just been,
oh my god, they're so good.
Out of this world. Hysterical.
I love hearing about them, because I just start giggling.
He is upset at this point in the series, so...
I love it.
Anywho, trigger warnings.
Yep.
We got all of them. Praise kink, non-consensual, branding, bondage, kidnapping, forced sex fantasy. This one we got kidnapping, a little bit of trafficking, and a little bit of breeding kink as well too.
Yeah.
So they kind of like expand as her books go, which
a little bit.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, mix it up a bit.
Yeah.
I made a note that like these books have me questioning my kinks and morals. Which isn't a bad thing. Now, like I with that being said, these books do say like this is not a how to BDSM book, and they are not. They are not.
No.
However, do I like to be called a good girl?
Well, yeah.
Like, do I think about things a little bit differently when I'm getting freaky? Yeah.
Sure. But, like, you're an adult.
Yes.
You know what,
you know what you're doing, but she makes it very clear these are not, like, how-to books.
No.
Like, these
There's a fun little fantasy
stories. Read. Yes, these are stories.
We should, if you're going to be reading any of these type of books, you should be in, like, I'm not going to say a right frame of mind because everybody's mind is different, but honestly, like, use your fucking head.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, I've seen so many TikToks where it's like, oh, you're reading this. You're like, oh, this is so hot. And then your partner, like, not partner, but, like, you know, somebody else of the opposite sex or even the same sex, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. You know, this other person is like, oh, you want this? Yeah. You know? Like, and you're like, no,
that's not what I'm wanting, actually.
Go away.
Get out of here.
You are not my fantasy man or woman or whoever in my brain right now telling me these sweet, dirty nothings.
Speaking of fantasy man, throughout all of Shantel's, like, ritual, sinner, sacrifice book, who would be your fantasy man?
Oh, fucking Tyson.
3? Really?
There's something about Tyson. I don't know what it is. There is something about Tyson,
See, for me, there's something about Sin.
Yeah.
I
know. I can see that. I can see that with you.
I don't know if it's
I can see that.
But there's something about Sin for me, and maybe it's how I've like created him in my mind too. But he would be my fantasy man.
There's something about Tyson. I don't know if it's more of
Tyson's a bad motherfucker. That's why. I mean, like all of these men are badass. Yes, but Tyson is like a notch above the rest, in my opinion. So that would make sense for you.
Yeah, I feel like he's more... I don't know, because I feel like in Ritual and Sinner, he is more of the older... You know, he's only like, what, year or two older?
Yeah, he's only a couple years older than, you know, like Riot and Sin. Yeah. But he's like running Blackout, the club. Yeah. So it's almost like he's more wise, maybe. Just
a little bit more experienced in that way.
And like almost a bit like mysterious. Because like he's a lord, but he's chosen to run a club instead of
because be a something judge. In the long run.
Yes. Like, you know how like these lords are set to become judges, like attorneys, senates.
He's like, I will do this, but I'm doing this. Yes. And it's all according to his plan. But I also feel like I feel like for Sin for you, you're such a fucking Leo. And I'm like, Sin is that like about himself, like in those Leo standards, and like I'm definitely a Capricorn, and I feel like Tyson is more along that line too. So
that would actually track. That's interesting. I wonder if anybody else feels the same.
Like, and I'm not really like a full horoscope girly,
right?
But it's just one of those certain things
that I can see. Now that you pointed out, I'm like,
oh.
I see that. I'm curious as to what the women in the books, what their astrological signs are.
Yeah, because
Shantel, can you tell us? Let us know.
What are their birthdays?
And same with the men. We also need to know theirs as well. Just out of curiosity, I need to find my perfect match.
Which one?
So we already we know about the lords. Yep. We know about this process. We already talked about Tyson owning the infamous club Blackout. Mm-hmm. Just some notes about Tyson.
Yeah,
he's got his own rules. You don't want to cross this man. You don't want to double cross him. You don't want to triple cross him. You don't want to crisscross applesauce.
No, and even the lords know this. Like the higher ups, they're like, just fucking
let Tyson be.
He's doing his thing.
And, you know, we kind of, you know, hear about Tyson's time through the Lords as we do in all of the books, like through college. You know, he really set the tone with his first assignment. He killed the person who was sent to kill him. Yep. I mean, like right away, like 7 pages in. Yeah. Again, love that she just
boom, boom, boom.
Put you right in there. The Lords actually tell Tyson who his chosen is very early on in the book, like 30 pages in.
Yep.
And that his chosen has a sister if he wants both. He questions why this girl. Her name is Whitney. Mm-hmm. That is the name of the chosen. He gets to claim her at the cathedral. Yep. We know all about that. Yeah. There's nothing really like special that they talk about because Whitney's almost set as like a flashback.
Yes. Well, I mean, even in the Ritual and in Sinner, it's mentioned, like, why Tyson is with Blackout. And exactly. And there was always
something surrounding it.
His story of, like,
again, she only leaves a loose thread if she's going to have you pull on it later. And now is the time to
and that's always said, like, his chosen is no more. I think it's, like, roughly what the quote, or, like, how it's written is, like, it's just... She's no longer here.
She's no longer here.
So you're like, okay, is she dead? Did she leave? Like, what happened?
We don't know.
Because we all know, like, with the lords and their situations, the only way you really get out is if you're dead.
If you're dead. And then if she's, you know, not there, why doesn't he have another wife? Because they're passed along.
He just, like, fools around. That's from the very beginning with Riot. Like, Riot walks in on Tyson getting a blowy.
Yeah,
that's just how we were introduced to Tyson.
That's how we find out who he is.
Yeah.
It's great. I love that, too.
Yep.
He's just in his office.
Like, he's just like, yep.
He's like, what's up?
Still, like, talking to Riot.
Yeah, just...
And Riot's like, all right. This is just how Tyson is.
These men. Love it. So, like, 3 years later, we see, like, after, you know, his initiation in college, he's running Blackout.
Yep.
And he actually had the choice to run a multi-million-dollar company.
And he said no.
And he said no. I don't want to.
Mm-hmm. It's not according to my plan, but obviously he's not telling them that.
The Lords gave Tyson Blackout as an opportunity to choose a different path.
Yeah.
So we could say he's chained to a club for a wife of his choosing at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it sounds like Tyson's got a big heart. Like, he just wants to be in love.
He just wants that
He's
love.
like, I don't care if I gotta run this shitty-ass club, which isn't a shitty club. It actually sounds pretty baller to me. From what she's described it as, it's got multiple floors. I mean, we got cage dancers. It's a blast. Like, I would go. Yeah. We would go.
Yeah.
Somebody make Blackout. No, actually, don't. We got that. Don't do it.
We take it back.
TM, we coined it. It's ours. Nobody else can do it. So that's a bit about Tyson.
Yeah.
That's like our intro to him. And then we hear about Lakin, or Lake, which is actually Whitney's sister.
Yep.
So Whitney was the chosen in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And then we kind of hear about Lakin a few years later.
Yep.
Lakin was very much like a sheltered little princess, treated extremely poorly by her family.
Yep.
She was never good enough for anybody.
So, like, that's the mentality she has right
now.
Yeah,
the mentality she has is a lord needs a lady to hide who she really is. Cook, clean, spread your legs, and worship them like gods. And she's basically refusing to fall to her knees. And, like, she says that in the book early on. She is set, like, when we meet her, she is set to marry. Like, getting in her dress to marry this man named Luke. And then, like, I mean, this is like 40 pages in. And again, Shantel starts with the drama. And we're like, what is happening right away? Like, Luke goes missing. He's, like, not showing up for the wedding.
Like, Lake's mom and dad are just like, what the fuck is going on? Where's Luke?
Where's Luke? And then she's, like, dressed and ready. Not exactly happy to be marrying him. No. But also really pissed that he's missing.
Yeah.
And just a note about Luke. He's one of the highest ranking lords that you can come by. So which makes him even, like, more dangerous.
And obviously, like, just, he's an ass.
He's a dick.
He's an ass.
Everybody hates him. Yeah. Even Tyson hates him.
Oh my God. And he made, like, change. Like, you're getting a boob job.
Yeah, like,
you cannot dye your hair. Like,
he wanted her, like, blonde hair, blue eyes.
And she's, like, a brown brunette,
I believe she had, like, dark hair and, you know, like, was...
But he made her choices throughout everything. And so, like, she doesn't like her wedding dress, nothing. But obviously, it's like, this is just how it fucking is.
Yep. So, her dad comes in, Lake's dad. And he's like, the wedding is still on. You're marrying somebody else. And she is like, the fuck you talking about, Willis?
Yeah.
Her brother comes in, Miller. He's an overprotective ass.
Yes.
You will hear about him later on, so I just think it's a point.
No, and I love that her dad's like, you're marrying someone else, and, like, he's pissed.
He's pissed about it, but he's like, it's happening.
Oh, but you know who she's marrying?
Tyson.
In comes Tyson with a fucking collar.
Yeah, he crashes this wedding, right? And lets Lake know she is to marry him.
Yeah, like, she's like, what the fuck?
It is not a question.
Yeah.
He gives her a gorgeous collar and, like, rips off her pearls. The way Shantel described this collar, I was like, where do I get one?
Yeah.
Like, I want to wear
one. I was like, okay, one, it sounds pretty.
It's beautiful. 2. And... right? Like, we got other purposes. You know, he basically is like, I have it quoted, welcome to hell, my little darling. You'll only be able to crawl as far as my chains allow you.
Yep.
So he puts, you know, the collar on her. She's kind of like, it's tight, it's itchy, doesn't really know much more than that at this point. They go through with the wedding. She's unhappy. Obviously. Tyson is, like, kind of, like, gloating.
Yeah.
This whole situation. Riot's there with him. It's kind of fun. You're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But, like,
because Lake does know who he is because of Whitney.
Whitney, yep. And she's obviously seen him and Whitney together. So she's very much thrown. Her family's very much thrown. Yeah. Nobody's happy. Yeah. Except for Tyson.
Yeah. Yep.
And Riot, maybe, because he loves
because, like, Riot showed up.
Yeah.
To crash the wedding.
Which is great, because, again, her like cross references
yes.
of the characters, fabulous. So, you know, I thought this was kind of brutal, but they Whitney and Laken's dad owns like this hotel, right?
Yes. Yes.
And they take the wedding night there. And she was a virgin.
Yep.
And they made sure of that. And
that was one of like Luke's things of like, no.
And her parents were like, she must stay a virgin. And they make a mess. And I guess the best way to say this is Tyson makes it more messy than it should have been.
To make a point.
We also have a doctor come in who's not our usual doctor,
no.
Gavin. It's somebody new, and he's like, "Oh, Gavin's busy," and I was like,
"I'm working with Gavin." And when he came in, I was like, "This is
not Gavin." But then he was like, "Oh, it's just birth control," and I was like, "Okay, like it's just a shot, so like, can't be too bad."
Yeah.
I mean, this book's interesting.
Yes, there's a lot that goes on with this book, and it really ties in with, like, what the Lords are trying to do, but also how they fucked over Tyson and why he's doing what he's doing.
And why he is the way he is.
Yes.
Because we've heard in the previous books kind of how he is, but this really gives you an insight. Mm-hmm. I don't want to spoil too much of this because I know we talk about like there are spoilers, but again, it's like you kind of need to read a lot of this.
Yeah. And a lot of this is going back and forth between how Lake is feeling, how she's feeling towards Tyson. You don't really find out what's fully going on with Tyson in his brain until towards the end of the book. So a lot of it is just Laken's point of view, and she's always going back and forth between like, well, what the fuck was going on with Whitney and like how
why
you guys
does he want me now, and like what's going on here. So you know, like they're together. They're married.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting, and I want to point this out that like Lake was taken to the dentist by Tyson.
That's right.
And like all of the girls always have trackers in them, and Tyson decides to put it in her tooth.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, you're getting a cavity filled," so she has no idea. She has no clue. But I kind of want to call that out just because I think it's interesting, and it comes into play later.
Not a normal place to have
one.
Track.
Yeah, like it would be unusual to find one in the tooth from what we've read.
Yeah. They always like have it on the phones or somewhere else, but never like in a tooth.
Yeah, so that was fun. They live above Blackout. Yep. That's their home. So like from Laken's point of view, she's not really like seeing daylight. Like she is set to like work at this club. Tyson's like, wear this sexy ass outfit. I don't care that you've never served tables in your life before. Get out there and figure out how to bartend.
Wear these fucking heels and walk up those goddamn stairs.
And this bitch struggles. She's like, if it's not like a vodka Red Bull, like I don't know how to make, like I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And she's like, and if you're coming to the club and like asking what to drink, then like why are you at the club?
Yeah.
I loved that from her.
She was getting so sassy.
She was, and
so sassy.
I mean,
I loved it.
I did too. And Tyson like takes it to like a degree.
Yeah, and
he kind of likes it too. Like you can kind of tell he likes
it,
she's but sassy. He's not gonna let her go too far.
Oh no! He's like,
there's a line drawn in the sand where I am still the pants in this relationship, if you will. So she has no phone, no clothes. I mean, like. Nothing. She gets a new phone. It's only got Tyson's number.
Well, no. Doesn't Tyson grab her shit from the house, or was that Sin? Am I mixing up the books? Because remember, it was like all her shit was in the other room.
After they leave, like Blackout, later out in the movie, he buys the house.
That's what it is.
Then he has all of her shit like shipped over, like her wedding dress.
Yeah,
and,
but she didn't know until later. Like, this is where all my shit
has been. Yeah, she had no idea. So it's just interesting. Like, we've got some drama with, like, you know, a coworker at Blackout who's stirring trouble, maybe working with Lake's dad. Not great.
Yeah.
We're not loving that.
All because, honestly, it's because she's fucking jealous because she wants Tyson.
She wants him. Her name is Whitney. Not Whitney. Bethany. And she's just kind of like a bitch.
Oh, she's a...
She's a bitch.
Some things happened, and I was like, ha!
You earned that. You earned that.
Get wrecked. I love when that shit happens too, honestly.
I do too. I'm like, thank God, because they really deserved that.
Yes.
Okay, just like going along with the story, like while she's working at Blackout, but also like, okay, he makes Lake get on her knees while he trains her butthole for anal, and then makes her walk around with a butt plug in her while working.
For like what, 6-8 hours?
Yeah, and she like in her brain is like, I want to take it out, but what's he gonna do to me if I do? Yes.
Do I want that punishment, or am I gonna leave it?
I guess I'm gonna keep it in. Okay, so speaking of the heels, this is like shortly after, the butt plug thing. Mm-hmm. Tyson wants to make Lake crawl to him. He's like, got this thing. He was like,
you're gonna do this, because she's like,
crawl to me. So he makes her put on these super high heels, and he even like locks them in, like
with like a padlock.
Yeah, like locks these shoes together. Bethany ends up like spilling a drink on Lake, and Lake's been walking around in these wet ass high heels all fucking night, dude. And she goes up to see Tyson, and Tyson is like, whoa, what the fuck?
Yeah, like that's not how you, like, I know you're gonna be in pain, but not like this.
That's not what I meant. Yeah, like I meant for you to crawl to me, but I did not mean for you to have like blisters sliding around in your shoes all night.
Yep.
So I think it's great. He brings Bethany up, makes Bethany wear the wet shoes
for the rest of the fucking
and then
night.
Is like, you're gonna finish her tables, and then with the tips, you're gonna buy her a new pair of shoes. I was like, oh, Tyson. Man with weight of my heart. Yep. Like, I thought that was really fun.
He's like, if anyone's gonna fuck with Lake, it's me. Fuck off.
Yeah, it's not.
Like, it's not, you don't get to touch. It's not you.
Again, with the, like, she is mine.
Yep.
Not yours. So then we're like 3 weeks post-wedding. That's when we go to the house. And they kind of have their first appearance as, like, Mr. and Mrs. Crawford.
Yep.
They run into Tyson's mom at House of the Lords. She asks when they're going to have kids, and they're like, fuck you. Because they don't want to bring children into this. No. Especially Lakin. She is very opposed. So that's fine. Mm-hmm. There is a dinner party where we're sitting down with Riot, Sin, Blakely, Ellie, Tyson, everybody. Yes. And it is a blast.
Oh my God.
It's fun to just see everybody that you've read and where they're all at now, like newly married. We've got somebody pregnant. Like, it's fun. It's almost like a catch up. And for us and for the dogs. And for, the crew, if you will.
Yeah.
All the lords and their wifeys.
Yeah, because now all the wifeys are starting to get together and starting to get to know, like, well, they didn't think Tyson was ever going to take somebody else. And so this is a shock to them. And so the wifeys are like, well, let's be friends. Let's hang out. Let's do this. But Tyson's like, you don't get to do this.
You don't get to do this. So Tyson is almost like teaching her that, like, I want you to abide by my rules and I want you to be mine, but I also want you to, like, be yourself again.
Yeah, figure out who you are.
So
that's what I really, like, appreciated with Tyson. Because he's like, yeah, he's still going to be domineering and all of that, but he wants her to figure out who she is. She's always had to be somebody different.
Or Whitney's sister.
Yeah.
And that was hard for her. Like, it's very clear that that's hard for her. And I think, like, the point in the book where we realize that, like, Lakin is no more going to, like, conform is when she steals Tyson's black Amex.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And she goes out, she dyes her hair, right? And then she buys a fucking Lambo. Yep. And Tyson gets a call from the Amex company. And it was like, you have a wife that's trying to buy a Lambo? He's like, I approve it. Yep. He wasn't even mad.
No, he was like, oh, you sneaky bitch.
He was almost, like, impressed. Yeah. Like, at, like, the gall she had. But wasn't going to let it. Like, I mean, obviously, he's like, you got a little something from me? You can give me a little something back, I mean, things kind of hit the fan after here. I mean,
yes.
I want to touch on Whitney's journey, which is Lakin's sister, who we've not really heard about. But there are flashbacks early on in the book, with Tyson and Whitney being together, Whitney possibly being pregnant. Whitney was being like stalked, sent photos of herself. I mean, like, Lake's family hates Tyson. They blame him for Whitney's death.
And this is all like said in previous books as well and whatnot. So like, it's a spoiler, but not
total.
Yeah.
I will say, like, Tyson actually finds Whitney when she calls and is like, I don't know where I am, and she's been missing for 2 days. He takes her to the hospital and she doesn't make it.
Yeah.
What happens from there is so fun. You just have to read for yourself.
That's when like all the twists and turns really happen, because you're learning more about Tyson's past, because he's been so closed off about it, even up until that point. It's not until like the end of the book where you're like, oh.
Okay. I think from there, like, because there's a lot going on as far as like with Lake's parents and with Tyson's parents being involved. With Whitney being involved. There's so much happening that you're kind of like, whoa.
Yes.
How did this all tie in? Again, she answers every single one of those questions at the end of the book.
Yep.
I mean, we've got like missing girls, like girls going missing from Blackout, right? And they're turning up dead. So like, we've got cops in Blackout. Like, that's an issue. Like, we don't need cops there. We got fucking Riot tying people up in the basement of Blackout. Like, no big deal. I mean, even Tyson's got people like tied up down there at one point towards the end of the book. Some of the sexiest scenes. Unless you have anything else to add.
No, because like there's everything else like we're not going to talk about.
We could, but it's just like then we'd be here for 3 hours. Yeah, and it's not the same.
It's not the same.
It is fun.
Yeah.
It is fun. I do feel that Tyson has a pretty good moral compass.
Yeah.
Again, can't touch my girl, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, somebody touched Blake in Blackout and he like shot him in front of everybody and was like, this no big deal.
Yep.
Don't touch my girl.
Yep.
I mean, she goes missing at one point and Tyson's like crazy looking for her, you know. It's fun. Yeah. Brutal scenes. We already talked about like the wedding night. He does tell her though, like, I'm gonna take it easy on you, but it's still gonna hurt.
Yeah. And
I'm no longer gonna give you the courtesy of going ezy after this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God damn, she's a virgin, dude. Can you go easy like 3, 4, 5 times? But that was fun.
Yeah.
Tying Lake up with duct tape and using the wand on her.
Oh, that's right.
That was fun. The like little like nipple like pincher, the banding.
Yep.
Dude, I was like, that's a thing. Yeah. I had to like look it up and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Again, her books are not how to do BDSM.
No.
They are not a how to. However, you can go Google and be like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Because I was like, what's nipple banding?
Yep.
It was pure torture for Lake, but it was also like, it was turning her on. So it was great. The collar is a shock collar.
Yep.
She does end up crawling to him.
At one point.
Wow. God. And then call out to Hawk Hates You when Tyson hog ties Lake and kidnaps her to the cathedral. I have seen the preview and it looks like that's what we're fucking getting. And I'm like,
yes. Yes.
It'll be perfect because Hawk's got the dark hair and I'm just like, I need to see this.
Yeah, and just like how they have it all set up. That's someone's house.
Yes.
So they're like, it's perfect.
It looks like a cathedral. It's great. I'm excited. There's a time where like Tyson's spanking her and he makes her like count them out.
Yes.
And it's great. The forced enema flashback. That was a little brutal for me.
Yes.
Tyson had like seen one in college and they give a flashback and I'm kind of like, whoa, because like they talk about like how big her belly was and like how uncomfortable she was and like I was kind of like, the fuck. And they give this flashback obviously because he's preparing Lake to do such, right? And he gives her one, but he does not do it to like a painful extent. It's more of the care, right? Yep. And even after, I mean, you know, he sits in the bathtub with her. He kind of like he cares about her. Yeah, he did a good job. I do want to say Tyson's a control freak.
Oh my god, yes.
But he has sacrificed everything all for his chosen. Yeah. His career, his life, money, his plan. Future, all of it. Yep. We do get a Carnage call out towards the end again.
Oh yeah.
And we hear about Saint looking for Ashton, and is she alive? Like Ashton's asking these questions to Blakely. Like there are things that happen in the end of the book that start to bring Carnage into play that wraps up Whitney, and like there's again, that's why we're like we can't touch on it all because it's so intense and so much happens. But again, she did a great job of calling them out. I do want to say Lake is really challenged for her loyalty in this book and like how far she's willing to go. Because Lake actually was told by Tyson in the beginning there would be no initiation. Yeah. And that's a big deal of like what Whitney has to do because, I mean, like, touch on it. Her dad like gives Bethany, not Whitney, Bethany a phone to give to Lake and is like, this is where you're going to get your initiations. She doesn't tell Tyson because she's not supposed to, but like she's not supposed to get no initiation at all. He promised her no initiation. Yeah. So we really see how much she wants to like make this work.
Yeah. And like just seeing that Tyson's actually what he's doing is more beneficial for her when it comes to that. Yeah. Like just be yourself. Don't be somebody else. Don't be
somebody else. And we learned a little bit more about the Lords this book. Yeah. And that was nice because like the first book we learned a lot, and the second book was like, okay, you know what you know, and this then here we kind of like I don't think it was said in the first two that the cathedral water was to cleanse the women of their past sexual partners.
I think it was like barely touched on.
Okay. Because when they brought it up in this book, it was like much more clear. Yes. The setting that they gave it. Yes. Lake actually says, quote, "This is sex trafficking at its finest without money being transferred. Not physical money, but funds are involved in a way." Yeah. So that, again, that's why we kind of like put the trafficking in there. Yeah. Yep.
Because, I mean, these kids are growing up and they know that their dads are lords and, you know, what moms are ladies. And, like, most of the time, they don't fucking love each other. Like, they clearly see this. They just have to have kids to keep it going.
They see that in their parents.
And so they know, like, they're eventually... going into that. Especially if it's a son. They know you're going to go through this.
Yeah. And I guess, you know, for Blake, it was... I feel like it was different for her. Because she just felt like she was never good enough. Like, her parents just always put her down. Yeah. She wasn't allowed to, like, talk about her dead sister.
Yeah, because it was always supposed to be about Whitney, not about Lake.
Yeah, like, Whitney was supposed to be the one. Yeah. Like, Lake was supposed to, like, fall into the background of their family, honestly. It seemed like. Honestly. Which, like, thank God Tyson came in and saved her. Yeah. Like, and again, I'm like, well, you know.
Because who knows what fucking Luke would have done, honestly.
I do want to bring up this before we end. Yeah. I love that Lake makes Tyson promise essentially that like you'll never drug me. Yes. And she gets hurt and he has to drug her to put her out of pain.
But he did not want to.
He did not want to, and they were like, you gotta. Like you've got to put her under. Yeah. She is pissed. And big she time. Is pissed for a hot minute. Yeah. She heals. And then she drugs Tyson. Yeah. And ties him up. Yep. And oh my God, did I have a blast with that. Because then he like gets loose and bitch is running through the house. She's like, I fucked up, man. But it's so playful. It's so playful. Like you just kind of see like in their relationship how that works. And like how they work together, right? Because this is like towards the end of the book. Shit's still going on, but like they're like, well, we're still gonna have fun.
Yeah, like they're now at this point where they can, even though she may not be seeing it that way, but like, or like both of them really, but it comes together.
It does come together. Yeah, I mean, I don't really want to like give much more.
Nope.
Because this was one of the books that when I finished, I was like, there is absolutely no fucking way that this is what actually happened.
Yeah.
And it did.
It did. And this one had like,
the twists and turns in this one. I mean, even rereading it again, I was like, holy shit. Like, so much happens. I mean, it's like almost info overload there for a minute, but it all plays out perfectly. And you're like, And again, she drops these little teasers about Carnage.
I can't
yeah, so like follow up. Carnage is going to be out soon. October 31st. I'm walking around with my Kindle.
Yep.
Just Halloween, trick-or-treating. Or we're going to be sick. I don't know.
I don't know.
Another head nod to how she ties in the characters. This dinner that they're all at.
Oh my god, yes.
That was so well done. And I don't know that the dinner needed to be there.
No, I don't think so, but it was fun. It was a nice little lighthearted.
It was good, and it kind of did need to be in there. I don't want to...
For certain things,
but it didn't need to be. Like, they could have ran into each other elsewhere. Sure, it didn't need to be like a full dinner. But I like that she gave that to us. It made me feel that like full circle, like warm and fuzzy feeling. I would say, like, for me, this was a 4 out of 5 for Spices. For me, it was...
It wasn't anything. Yeah, it was Sinner was more on that line.
Yeah,
definitely. So yeah, I'll give it that.
If you like butt play, this would probably be the book for you. This might take it up to like a 4 to a 4.5 for you.
Yeah.
This is not my cup of tea. I mean, did I enjoy reading about it?
Oh
yeah. It's fantasy. I enjoyed reading about it. It was great. Again, Hawk hates you. Go to her OnlyFans. Yep. Go to her TikTok. Let us know where we watch this. What subscription I need to get. Is it like the week, the 3 month, the 6 month, the year?
Mm-hmm.
Girl, I'm a
And I know we're going to be finding out more, I believe, this month about it too. So.
I'm like all over her updates and Shantel's updates. So
it's always fun.
We'll all be waiting with you.
Yes.
I'm so excited. All right. Well, we will be back with some movies. And
movie time.
Maybe another spooky book. And then when Carnage comes out, bet your asses
we're going to be reading that real quick.
We're going to be right here reviewing that. We absolutely are loving Shantel. She's really got me right now. Yeah. So any other suggestions, that you guys want to send us, you can DM us, whatever,
Instagram, TikTok.
Anything, let us know. Holla at us. Yeah.
I think that's about it.
We're just here doing our mom stuff.
God. All right. We're going to sign off.
All right, signing off. Bye.
Right, bye.
Thank you for listening. If you'd like to see more from us, you can find us on Instagram at The Midnight Babes Podcast and on TikTok at The Midnight Babes. Stay spooky, friends.